Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
How's everybody doing out there?
Yeah, happy Friday. It's Friday night.
Come on into a new relationship coaching
Come on into
room.
the locker room. Come on in.
Come
on in.
Come
We're
on,
exciting.
Come on in.
We are ready for the team.
Yes.
We are ready for the team tonight.
Yes. We have a great topic.
Yes.
Coming to you. And we want you to all like and share this.
Mm-hmm.
We are excited about this topic because this is going to help you as we are talking about relationships and growing in our relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, we're going to be talking about boundaries.
Yes. And just a reminder, we are a new relationship coaching.
Yes.
So I'm Rodney Bennett.
I'm Thilana Bennett.
And we are just excited to be here. This is exciting for this. And listen, let me just throw this out there. This is so personal for us.
Yeah.
You know, when you see us here and we have a coaching service, we're building this business and it's going well. But really, this is our heart.
Yeah.
Because this was our own personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the lessons, all of the books, the courses, and everything these are coming from our heart and from our own experience. We're certified coaches, don't get me wrong, but a lot of this is very near and dear to our heart, man, because it was what we had to go through to get through.
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought all of that.
Yes.
So anyway, I just thought I would throw that out there. This is not just something we do because we don't have time to do anything else or we got time on our hands. This is something that is very near and dear to us.
Yes. So come on in the room and we are so excited. So, one thing we want to say that, as he explained, this is what we go through and this is what we have to continue to put in practice ourselves because this is personal experience to us and what has helped us, but we also see the importance of it when we work with other people as well. In helping them establish these key things, because when you go through a divorce, it is like no other, but it doesn't have to go so horribly wrong, even if the other party, or if you're dealing with a breakup, this is the same thing, a breakup that, if you still have some connection, especially if you have children together or something like that,
it can be critical.
You have to make sure that even if the other party may not know these things, it's you implementing these things on your end will still help push the relationship and your well-being, your
Yeah.
emotional well-being
Yeah. Yeah.
in a positive way, or in at being able to have more peace than not.
Yeah.
And so tonight we wanted to talk about boundaries and exactly, what are boundaries and what are we talking about, healthy ways to establish them, set them, the importance of them. And so we're going to get right into it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of all, when we talk about boundaries, we're talking about those parameters, okay? Keyword parameters that are established,
Mm-hmm.
that are well communicated, and that are well executed, so that there is positive communication and development in your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
so that you have the ability to have your emotional well-being, your physical well-being, and those who you are in connection with.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about having those healthy parameters, because then we understand that when something is coming up against that and we're starting to feel like, I'm not sure if this is comfortable, I'm not feeling this. Once you've established that, it's easy to understand when somebody's crossing the border,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
Crossing the
The
parameter,
parameters. Yeah.
crossing the line,
Mhm.
right? Because you've already established. And what is key, especially for people who may have felt like, okay, your boundaries are kind of weak, meaning not that you're weak, but you kind of feel like, well, maybe I could, or maybe I should, or maybe they're right, or maybe this. And you have a hard time staying assertive and keeping that fine line with like, no, how I feel in this matters, what I'm thinking matters, even if I have to work on this or try to get some clarity, where I am right now matters, and I have to still communicate that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know about you, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if there was time in my life where really, because of just being oblivious to the understanding of boundaries,
Mhm.
you other people crossing them, you crossing
You
them. I
cross
mean,
them, yeah.
it's just one a boundary crossing a
Yeah.
party. So it's really really important to I like the definition to be able to communicate and to execute these
Yeah.
parameters, and so if one is knowing them and then being able to communicate them and being able to execute them, because ultimately this is about protecting yourself.
Yeah.
It's about protecting your heart.
Mhm.
It's about protecting your emotions, because the reality is when the bad breakup or the divorce happens, both one or both partners may not be in a good emotional place.
Yeah. Yeah.
It may be a thing where it's not, where you have to be protective.
Yeah.
One person may have felt like they didn't get a good deal, or
Yeah.
they weren't in agreement with it, or they didn't think
Yeah. It didn't
whatever it
go their
was
way.
didn't go their way.
Mhm.
And so they may be the one to really not really respect,
Mhm.
or even have knowledge of those boundaries and those parameters.
Yeah. So one important thing that has to be established, step one, is you have to communicate. You have to be comfortable with communicating. This is what I need. This is where I am.
Hmm.
This is what I is going to be in my best interest. And many times we allow people easily cross over areas where we are like we're uncomfortable, or we're just not in agreement because they don't know, okay? Because we haven't communicated it.
Hmm.
So establishing a boundary means I have to communicate what this looks like for me. Many times, especially when after divorce, like you said, if one person isn't really completely moved on, and they can think that they can still come in, and have that relationship communication like
Yeah.
they had before,
Yeah.
and you're still interacting with them, or they're still thinking they have access to you
Hmm.
like they did when you were together, that boundary wasn't communicated.
Right.
It wasn't communicated that you can't call me, you know,
Yeah.
at the, I'm not the one you're gonna call when you're in an emotional
When you're going
turmoil,
through an
or
issue, or when,
whatever it was that
yeah,
you guys had established. Like, I'm not the one you call, like, no, we're not hanging out anymore, no, we're not together, those kinds of things. Now, if you're, especially if you have children involved, you have to establish, you still have to communicate. You
yeah,
know what I mean? You
yeah,
can't just be like, no, I'm not going to communicate. But establishing those boundaries and communicating that is step one.
yeah. I think that's one of the main reasons
Yeah.
why, it is so important. Well, they're all, important reasons,
Yeah.
but definitely for the children.
Yeah.
Definitely for the children, because, okay, we're still parents.
Yeah.
We're still parents.
Yeah.
And then of course, when the one or both, former partners now decide to be involved again,
Yeah.
and even married, now we got a whole different dynamic going on. We got a
Mhm.
whole big crock pot
Yeah.
going on now. And so now it's very important, to be, and sometimes we feel like it's awkward. I mean, you ever
Yeah.
feel like we gotta have this conversation,
Yeah.
but I don't want to do it because it's awkward. You
Right,
ever feel that
right. I
feeling?
absolutely do. I feel like, but the thing is, despite how awkward it is, despite how uncomfortable it is, you have to learn that being uncomfortable, you may be uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but you have to do it,
Yeah.
and establishing this communication, like, if, establishing clear lines, like when we're talking about the children, or if we're talking about business matters, because you might still have to communicate some
Hmm.
things with
Hmm.
your ex.
Sure.
This is what we talk about. I don't need to go back into the past about what things were.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
don't need to talk about what happened then or this. And when those parameters those boundary lines start to cross, then you have to assert yourself. You know, I can't, we're drifting off into another conversation that
Right.
we don't need to be drifting off, or that's
Right.
uncomfortable for me.
Right.
If you continue, I'm going to have to stop the conversation, and sometimes, especially if you coming out of an abusive place,
Yeah.
you really have to protect those boundaries.
Yeah, because see, the problem is, the challenge becomes, if one of the partners were abusive,
Yeah.
now the divorce has happened, or the bad breakup, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they've changed those
Yeah.
abusive
Come
habits.
on. Yeah.
So they may feel like, okay, we're not husband and wife, or
Hmm.
boyfriend and girlfriend, or engaged, or fiance, but I still, whenever I come in contact with you, I still kind of default
Yeah.
back to those, and like I think we touched on it last week, that when those boundaries aren't respected, then you got to kind of close them in a little
You
bit
gotta
more
close. Yeah.
tighter, so that they have less access.
Less access.
So I mean, and again, just accept this part, that you know what, this is different.
Yeah.
This is a whole new experience.
Yeah.
It's not going to feel comfortable. It's going to
Hmm.
feel awkward. It's going to feel different, because this is the first time you've been here. But just because it feels different, just because it feels awkward, that doesn't mean that it's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's because it's right now to establish the boundaries, and and remind, sometimes people don't even feel like they were that bad.
Yeah.
And so, like, so they continue the same, habits or abusive ways. And then this becomes a tool or a vehicle to now be able to say, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
I really don't have to accept that anymore.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't have to hear it.
I don't
I
have
don't
to.
have to see it in a
I
text.
don't.
I don't have to, answer a phone
That's
call.
right.
Why? I
Right.
don't have to, you no longer
Yeah.
have this access to me that way.
Yeah, yeah. And that's very important, and it's okay, And this is, I just know for me personally, and I had to learn, that one, like I was saying before, how I felt mattered. And I think a lot of times, if you struggle in that area,
Yeah.
where it's okay. Maybe, maybe this isn't that big of a deal how I'm feeling. And it's okay that, they say that, or we do this, or I really don't want to, like if I really don't
Hmm.
want to,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
I am, those feelings, you have to start to evaluate that.
Yeah.
Why is that true? No, these parameters have to be established.
Yeah.
Even when we say we're going to execute something, with our children, or with something that we still have to be in communication with or about, and one person doesn't, you have to hold them true to that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to, what is the consequence of you crossing the parameter?
Right.
What is the consequence? Because if that saying, if I give somebody an inch, they may take a mile,
Mm-hmm.
and it's okay, not to walk through that process, but it's not okay to sit back and just allow it to continually happen when you said this is what I need, or please stop doing this, and somebody keeps crossing that line. You're going to have to now establish,
Yep.
enforce that.
Enforce it. And like I said, a lot of times they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah, they don't know.
So this becomes, okay, this is how this works now. And they may not have never understood boundaries that a person can set in their personal life. But it's interesting because I know I can think back, at the time of my divorce, and the reality is initially your thinking is set to program, to default. It's because it's been years, maybe even decades. It's been a while, every day hearing this, seeing that, day in, day out, and so forth and so on. So in the beginning, there is like a deprogramming state. There's a deprogramming, just like you said, because sometimes some people will never validate what you're, even though they know they should and they know it's right. But they'll never take the time to validate how you feel and the way you feel is right. So what we have to learn is to validate our own feelings.
Yeah, that's good.
Validate our own emotions. Like, no, it's right for me to feel this way. It's right for me to be able to have a protective boundary from an abusive individual. It's right, and it's right for me to decide when I unlock and lock that door. That's
good.
right for me to, because they're never going to validate it. They're never going to affirm it. They're never going to say, hey, I was kind of out of pocket. So it's understandable that you there's certain areas of life that, and areas to your own inner court, your soul, that I no longer have access, because the abusive person feels like they're supposed to be entitled to all the access points that they had before the divorce. We just ain't married no more. Especially in here, let me throw this out there. Sadly and unfortunately, there's a lot of males that feel like that if you have had biological children by them, they will always have access. You will I know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. They feel until the day they leave this planet, married, unmarried, here, there, whatever, and wherever, because of those children, they have like a secret lock, a secret opening to your heart and to your soul. And so that's a whole nother issue, because how do we navigate now? I don't want to be negative around my children concerning my ex. I don't want to be, I don't want to, in front of them have to, what I'm saying, but at the same time, if you have a partner, and it doesn't have to be male, it can be female, but if you have a partner that you feel like is trying to use the children as a pawn, which to me is the saddest thing. And the reason why is because the children are the innocent ones in the middle. They're in the crossfire. But if you feel like you have an ex in your life, and they are attempting to use the children as a gateway into your life, into your soul, into ways they had before, then again, it's time to communicate and execute those parameters.
And so, like, executing, how do you execute? And I think this piggybacks on to what we talked about last week. One, I know for me, I had to execute in ways of establishing clear boundaries. Was first, I had to understand that my boundaries were weak. I would give in. So that is you have to understand. And I did that with help. We talked about accountability last week. And
Mm-hmm.
that, again, always, that's why it's such a foundation, because when I got help, right, from trusted people
Yeah.
who could help me. And I knew that I felt safe with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they allowed me to grow in establishing boundaries. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's one, getting some accountability and some safe people around you.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have to, by all measures, I say, protect your peace.
Yeah.
Protect. We think a lot of times, if, just like we have fences, around our houses, our neighborhoods, our yards, right? That's to establish a border, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when somebody's crossing that line or coming into your space, your emotional place, or whatever, even physically, you have to protect that. How do you protect that? Especially with children, maybe you establish some guidelines. Maybe you're not the one who takes them. Maybe the ex can't come over the house and pick them up, or things in place. There's always ways to make sure that if your boundaries, or you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can do this safely, but I understand that you can't withhold communication or even seeing somebody, you can put in those guards, those ways that you can still move forward, but you are safe, you are secure.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, as you grow in this, you can, you gotta, I remember little exercises, like as simple as if this is an area for you with not being able to really clearly state your boundaries and what is good for you, just like little things. Like I remember you would tell me, like, we go into a restaurant and you don't want to sit where they just sit you down, and you really like, I don't want to sit here, but I guess it's okay. No, assert yourself. Assert yourself. I don't want, respectfully, I don't want to, no, thank you. I would like to move somewhere else. Like you don't realize how boundaries play a part in your everyday life. This is with family. This is with parents,
career,
friends.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go, being able to clearly articulate and then execute what that looks like.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I was thinking about a scenario, and you touched on it, with parents.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, parents from the opposite, of the spouse will kind of take to a certain person, a certain spouse, and they develop a connection with them. And then when the divorce happens, sometimes the parents will still kind of, connect or stay, ask about, or, so forth and so on. And sometimes they may make a comment, a sidebar comment. But what do you do what would you do in a situation where, okay, you've established these boundaries, but your parents are still kind of, are connected to the ex, and then maybe a picnic or cookout, and then they contact the ex and invite them.
Lord, come on
invite
now.
them to the cookout, unbeknownst to you. And because they like them. But they know that the divorce is happening. They may be pulling for it to get back together.
Yeah.
How do you handle that?
You have to go and speak to your parent. You have to address it.
Yeah.
That's why it's so interesting. It's not interesting, and this is the aftermath of divorce and the fall away of a union, is that you're not the only one who was connected to the ex.
That's right.
Right. Your parent, you probably still sees them as their son-in-law, daughter-in-law, whatever the case. They're still family. They're always going to be family. And many times, if they didn't, you would have to handle that appropriately. You would have to go and talk to them, in a respectful manner, and say, no, this is, this is crossing my boundary. No, this is not I would not like them to be invited to these family events. And if the parent couldn't respect that, then now you would have to evaluate whether or not you would attend some of these things if it's still like in a place where, if you're not in a place where that you could really handle it
Yeah.
and feel comfortable. But I definitely believe like a conversation needs to be had and it needs to be established. Like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah, and I think ultimately as well, going ahead and communicating with the ex
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
If the family, the parents are still feeling whatever way they're feeling about the person, and they, what I'm saying, whatever the case
Mhm.
is, then it's time to have a conversation. I
Yeah.
believe with the ex personally,
Yeah.
say, hey, parents are fond of you, and I'm not going to be the one to bash you and all that around them. However, we're not together anymore.
Yeah.
And so these intimate family gatherings is just that, if it's intimate family.
Yeah.
And so I would appreciate,
Yeah.
if you just, even if they're invite, if I'll be the one to invite you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you'll probably be waiting for a while, but but I'll be the one to say, hey, green light you if it's a situation, because there are things that go on with the kids,
Yeah, that you're gonna still have to.
graduation party celebrations and different things like that. And you do want the biological parent, even though there's divorce has happened, you don't want to exclude them, because now you bring harm to the children.
Yeah.
Now the children want to know why, and they feel like they were done a disservice. So I think there is a way to handle it.
Yeah.
There is a way to tactfully, respectfully, again, like you said, have a conversation with your parents, and then ultimately have a conversation with the ex themselves,
Yeah.
and say
And
this is
and
what it is.
and it's so important because when you establish clear boundaries and hold true to it, right? You move on healthier, in a
Yeah.
healthier way.
Yep.
And if you do end up in, another relationship, it's easier to, it's not messy. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It's
Hmm.
not messy.
Hmm.
You can't clearly have that trust and accountability and security in another relationship if the ex has full access to you.
Yeah, it's true.
They can say it's like you guys have never been
Yeah, you're still together.
divorced, or
You're still together.
or whatever. And even those boundaries even mean that financially, okay,
Hmm.
financially I have boundaries. Like,
Yeah.
I know different, there's alimony and all those different things, and it depends on your situation. But just because they may have a financial responsibility to you does not mean that they have to have access to you like
Right.
that.
Right. I mean,
That's
you don't
that's two separate things. That
agree.
their financial responsibility, or even if for vice versa, you are not feeling or relying on them in that financial, or using that, right, in a way to get financials, crossing the line, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
just so that you can get what you want, and manipulating.
Hmm.
When people have access and everything's jumbled up like that, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not easy to move on.
Yeah.
Somebody else walking into that situation doesn't have clear access to you.
Right.
There's
Right.
there's debris in the way.
Hmm. Yeah. No, it's true.
There's
It's true.
debris in the
It's
way.
true. And it's like, why? I mean, sometimes situations are out of your control
Yeah.
and so forth and so on. But the reality is why does the new person? Why should they have to have that? Why
Yeah.
should they have to walk into a situation? And I mean, like I said, sometimes it's out of your control, whatever. But when it is control, and you just neglected to handle things, or you neglected to really place these boundaries, now it's just dumped in the new person's lap.
Yeah.
And it's like, a lot of times they don't, you don't want to lose the person, and you don't want to, you don't want to just disconnect the relationship.
Yeah.
But at the same time, as a new person, you also can have boundaries.
Yeah.
You also can communicate and execute those boundaries. But I think we owe it, especially, and it's not to say that everybody has to do it, but if you feel like you want to love again, you want to find love again, create a neat, clean orderly path and
Yes.
space for
Yeah.
the new love that you desire.
Yeah.
Just realize, what I mean, because a lot of that, some of that is in control. You can give them a nice, neat, clean, never, it's not going to be perfect, but you can give them a nice, neat path, or you can give them a path that's got, all kinds of stuff on in the way, and it can't see, it's half dark, all kinds of stuff. So you want to have them, you want to work on that and start to, and that's why it's good not to just jump into a situation right after a
Yeah.
bad
And
breakup,
you
right after a divorce.
you don't want it just to be a nice clean path for them. You want it to be a nice clean path for you.
That's right.
You want it to be a nice clean path for your children.
That's right.
You want it to be a nice clean path for your life.
That's right.
And
Right.
that's what boundaries do. It helps you and it helps everybody else
Yeah.
around you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Know where you're coming from, and it gives you that security and confidence that only you can have, because you only know you the best.
Right. Right.
And even this is why accountability is important as well, because sometimes we may need somebody to say no, wait, that's off. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that, because we could be trying to establish a boundary that's not right.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not letting my ex see my children for no reason, whatever, that he, or she never doing that,
Right,
like,
right,
no,
right.
that's not a boundary,
Yeah. Yeah.
in, depending on
Yeah.
circumstances.
Mhm.
But the boundaries are so key, because it helps you in every area of your life have
Yeah.
order, have freedom.
Yeah.
Many times we say, boundaries give you freedom. It's the
Mhm.
opposite. It sounds like it doesn't, but it
Yeah.
gives you the freedom to choose. It gives you the freedom to express. It gives you the freedom to move the way you need to, because you're not just letting anything come in anytime it wants to and take you off the direction that you want to
Yeah.
go.
And you want to have, I'm just thinking, like when you go into your kitchen, sometimes, and most of us, we try to put things in a particular place, and so that way when we need them or whatever, and we can just go and get them and do what we need to do, whether it's cook a meal or set whatever the case is. But how about those times when everything you put somewhere is not there?
Yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
and you gotta, and that's like sometimes like like having going through a breakup or a divorce, and you don't have any boundaries,
Yeah.
and so the person, the ex, is showing up all over the place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All into different situations, all into, all, just out of position and out of place. But that's not what you want. You want the boundaries so that there's order.
Yeah.
So that situations are just, you don't have to worry about, them overstepping over here or overstepping over here or doing, because you've communicated and you've
And you
executed
enforce,
those parameters.
you execute, like you said.
Yeah.
And so, I think this is so key. And we have lived this. I know for me, it's been a journey to have to really make sure that where I'm at matters, my peace
Yeah.
matters,
Yeah.
right? My security, my what I need from another relationship. And and it helps you as you move forward into another relationship, because now you understand that it's not just a take, somebody taking from your emotional bank account all the time, making
Mhm.
withdrawals.
Yeah.
Right. Boundaries allow you to have deposits in your
Mhm.
bank account,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
withdrawals the
Yeah.
way you are asking for it to be.
Exactly.
And the
Exactly.
same thing for you. You don't want to be in a relationship where it's one-sided. And that's even, we're talking friendship, we talking,
Sure.
those relationships too, even though, that why am I always the one who has to reach?
Right.
And why am I always the one pushing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
you need that reciprocity,
Reciprocity.
reciprocity. reciprocity. You need
Yeah,
that.
it's true.
You know,
It's true.
and boundaries help you.
Yeah.
Healthy boundaries
Yep,
help
healthy
you.
boundaries. That's what you want to have.
Yeah.
Healthy boundaries.
You don't want unhealthy boundaries. Keep
Mm-mm.
locking people out. We want healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Where to place people.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah.
Where they go.
Where they go. Where they
Yeah.
belong. That way you always know where they're at.
Yeah.
Once you execute, communicate, and enforce, that's where they'll be.
That's where they'll be. So we hope that helps, guys, and we're excited. We'll be on next Friday as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be talking, and the following Friday we have 2 more. A new relationship locker rooms we're going to do. And just go ahead and share this, like it. We also wanted to let you know our upcoming group coaching program is coming up August 19th.
Yes.
And we're so excited about this.
Grab your seat.
If you have gone through a divorce or breakup and you are at the place where you just need to recover, you know, recuperate, find yourself, and eventually, even if you're at the place where you feel like you're ready to love again, this course is for you. And we are excited to be hosting that. It's 8 weeks. And you want to get your spot today.
August 19th.
August 19th, it begins.
Don't wait.
And so don't wait. And we're excited about that. But we've had a great time.
Yeah, this has been awesome. It's been awesome.
And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Next Friday.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a good night.